What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? King Narakami here, and today is a fantastic day. Yesterday, I reported on a Korean ratings board leak for Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, and of course, today was the Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase. And needless to say, guess what showed up during that? Yes, right, it's SMT5 Vengeance. It's been officially announced, multi-platform release, and I am so hyped. And you know who else is hyped? My guest today, Katana Riku. What's going on, Riku?
What's up, King? Always happy to be a part of the channel. SMT5 Vengeance looks so good, and it's pretty much shaping up to be everything I wanted it to be. I know it's early to say that because they just revealed it today, but oh my god, that game looks good.
Oh,
and I
yes.
can't wait to grab it.
And this is coming from two guys that's already played vanilla SMT5 before, and we both loved the experience. But of course, that title itself does have its share of issues. And I don't know, man, from the list that we're about to go over, because this is obviously titled All You Need to Know, it looks like they're addressing a lot of issues, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, they are basically righting every wrong that they had in the original game, and I think that's really awesome, to the point where it really is just a whole new experience with how much effort they're putting into it.
So let's just go ahead and get started. SMT5 Vengeance, it's not like SMT4 Apocalypse. Apocalypse was a totally different original story that like went alongside SMT. It happened like during the neutral ending after SMT4. It's not like that at all. Think of it like I would put it like Strange Journey Redux in a way, but with a lot more content. So basically, what I find interesting is at the beginning of the game, they've already confirmed this, one of the biggest things about Vengeance, there's going to be another story. Now, you can experience the original story, you can actually pick that at the beginning of the game to experience the original story as it originally was on the vanilla release of SMT5. But there is a new Vengeance story that has kind of like the same beats of SMT5, but the story drastically changes, and apparently there's going to be more story, more character development, and that story itself is going to be like, from what I hear, 80 hours long. Did you hear that as well? Am I making things up? Like, it's supposed to be like 80 hours, right?
Everything you heard, I've heard. I heard it was going to be 80 hours long. I heard that around the midway point is when, well, the whole experience is different, but around the midway point is when the story drastically starts to change. And I gotta say, like, this is way above like what I expected. Honestly, I was thinking it was just going to be like a sort of Persona 5 Royal thing. You add a new character, there is like maybe an extra chapter or two, and then that's basically it. But no, they an 80-hour new story, that to me is massively impressive to me.
Right. And you know that Atlas is going to sell this pretty much for $70 off the bat. So to me, we're already getting that value because we're already getting another story. You can call me a dick rider all you want. I am a simp for SMT5. I love that game to death. But the fact that we're getting this, it's like in Persona 5 Royal, the new stuff with like Kasumi and like the third semester, it was maybe 30 hours. This is just completely just out of left field to me. When they announced Vengeance, I kind of like thought, okay, they were gonna like add another like 20-30 hours of gameplay or something. No, it's going far beyond just a new waifu, which they do have a new girl in here, but they're going to right the wrongs of the story, like you said, have more interactions with the characters and everything. I'm just so excited. Did you have a lot of qualms with the original SMT5 story, and do you think this is going to really expand upon what could have been?
I think SMT5 story was good. Actually, I thought it was really good for what it was. I really enjoyed the latter half of it when it got to the Bethel sort of arc with all of the different leaders of the different branches of Bethel sort of fighting for the throne of creation. I thought that was really cool. In hindsight, you know, years later, I definitely can see more of the game story's blemishes in terms of like pacing. You did go long stretches of time without a lot of things happening, and overall, the characters, some of them weren't really utilized very well. Miyazu was one that if you didn't do her side quest, she just became irrelevant shortly after she was introduced. And that's a little disappointing. But because they are sort of not rewriting the story, but sort of doing an alternate route, they can really dig deep into these characters' motivations and their roles in the story. And they can sort of kind of have a second chance at like utilizing them in a way more interesting way and have them be way more involved in the story. And that's what I'm really excited about the most, because I've always liked the fact that SMT4 and SMT4 Apocalypse had sort of human characters that were really a part of the story, that were kind of with you a lot of the way. And Nocturne and 5 felt kind of like the opposite, where it was like demons all around you. Humans are there, but they're not really as involved. And that's just what I liked about 4. So to see that with 5 is really cool.
I think one of the biggest thing was SMT5, like you said. There's not a lot of interactions with humans. I know that 5 took a lot of inspiration from Nocturne itself, and the like you're in like this apocalyptic world, and you know there's not supposed to be a lot of people around you, so it definitely took a lot from that. But I think it was kind of missing that character development, because we did have a lot of character development in Nocturne, even though the characters weren't there for long. You knew what they were there for, their purpose and everything. In 5, I think they just kind of rushed things, and they couldn't like give everybody the time that they needed to develop and say, hey, this guy's, chaos, this person stands for law and all this stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do for sure. And I'm very excited about the prospect of, them righting some wrongs of the original story. More things that we're going to be getting from this re-release. There's going to be a new dot area, a new dungeon. I already thought that dot was like really big, and the fact that they're expanding it more, I figured that they would, but more dot is always good to me. What do you think about dot?
I thought dot was a very visually pleasing overworld. I don't know, something about the fact that it was this wasteland with sparkly sand, or at least in the first area, was really cool to me. I've always liked how Nocturne sort of took that version of Tokyo and like made it this crazy sandstorm, which kind of, I don't know, it's really unique aesthetic, and I thought 5 did a great job of sort of emulating that in its own way. And the fact that we're getting more of that in 5 Vengeance is really cool. What really caught my eye was the fact that it looks like we're going to be able to do a lot more stuff, or maybe a bit more stuff, while we're traversing Dot. There's a clip of him, what looks like rail grinding through the city.
Yes,
that looked awesome. That looked really cool. So I hope there's more stuff like that. Maybe they could have more dungeons, things like that. They did say I think there was gonna be a new dungeon or something like that. I think that's what
new dungeon is confirmed.
We saw in the trailer. I'm not sure, but
yes,
it looks like they're doing a good job expanding it, and I'm really excited for that.
And I hear that more stuff to do around the world says this interact with your allies. You're going to have more of a chance to interact with your allies and everything. I think that's going to be really cool as well. The grinding, like you said, that seems really cool. It seems like they're adding a bunch to the game that I know that they said during an interview after the Direct that there was a bunch of stuff that they couldn't put in the original release because of time constraints. And so I think that they're trying to make this like the definitive version of the game, and it seems like they're succeeding. And just quality of life improvements, including for combat, like we get like 2 times combat speed and stuff that I didn't miss before, but looking in hindsight, I'm like, yeah, that kind of should have been in the game to begin with, but I didn't miss it.
So about that, with they didn't have enough time constraints kind of thing. So what I found interesting about SMT5 is that it was developed in Unreal Engine 4, which, if I'm not mistaken, was one of their first, if not the first time working with that engine, right?
Right.
I think it was. And so it was like a whole new engine to learn, and that probably is what caused a lot of the development issues with them trying to figure out how to, implement the engine and implement all their ideas in that time frame. But the fact that now with 5 Vengeance, they already have the knowledge and the skill to use the engine. They have a lot more room and a lot more time to put their ideas forward into this game. So this honestly feels like a fresh start for SMT5, and I'm actually really excited to see how they, utilize all these different aspects of, what we saw in the base game into this new version.
So yeah, a lot of stuff going into Vengeance, all of their like expertise and everything, stuff that they learned over the years about the engine. It's going to be in the game. A bunch of new stuff, over 40 new demons as well, new navigators. What excites me the most, and I'm sure it's going to excite everyone else the most about this, because I'm sure people like went crazy when they saw this, even though it did appear at the Nintendo Direct. This is not a Nintendo Switch exclusive game. The game is going to be launching on PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox Series consoles, and I guess Xbox One, and PC. SMT5 finally breaking free of the constraints of the Nintendo Switch. Did you think that this was going to be a Switch exclusive?
Yeah, so my first reaction to hearing that it might be multi-plat was basically hope. I was really hoping it would happen. I wasn't 100% sold because I felt like Nintendo was sort of involved with the original. So I
Right.
wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't sure how that was gonna work out. Like they did like the localization or something like that, right?
I know that they funded quite a. I know from what I hear, they funded quite a bit of SMT5. I know they probably didn't fund the whole thing, obviously, but uh, they had to have some financial investment in it.
Yeah, and so because of that, there was always this bit of doubt in the back of my mind, like, is this really gonna go to PS5 and Xbox and Game Pass and stuff like that? But we see that it did, and to me, this is like the greatest news of all, only because it's reaching. This is like I said, this is like a new jumping point for a lot of people who haven't played SMT5, or for people who might have been eyeing it on the Switch but just never got around to it. And I felt that if they sold it on the Switch exclusively again, I said this on Twitter, they would be selling it to the same base of people.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously people buy Switches all the time, but for the, core fans who played SMT5, they'd be, given the same option on Switch again. Whereas I felt that if they had more platforms like PlayStation and Xbox, PC, and Game Pass, there would be a lot more people who were looking at SMT5 who decided not to get it to go ahead and try it at this point. And so I think there'd just be a way more, like a wider, net of potential buyers for that game. So I felt that this was the best outcome.
Right. And let's not forget, the game has very subpar performance on Switch. It didn't hinder my experience of the game. I did notice, cutscenes running slow and frame drops while you're traversing the world and everything. But man, seeing the trailer in 60 FPS and 4K,
Yes.
it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
The game already looked good on Switch. I would say that's one of the best looking Switch games of its generation. Like, it's incredible how much visual fidelity and everything went into this aging hardware and what they were able to obtain with SMT5. And so to see this running at 60 FPS 4K, because I'm going to get it on PS5, possibly Steam for my Steam Deck, dude, I'm so excited about that.
Yeah, I think that SMT5 already looked beautiful on Switch. One of the best looking RPGs on the system for sure. Games in general. I think that was like the one thing that caught my eye when I first saw it when they revealed it. It's like, wow, like is this really gameplay? There's no way the game looks this good. But the performance was a bit on the laggy side, and that's where I was like, it was almost 30 FPS. Whenever you started running or opening menus, it would drop. But to see it at 60 FPS rock solid, of course, it's a turn-based RPG. It's not really necessary, but I mean, I appreciate 60 FPS all the time. So that's my thoughts on it. I'm extremely excited for it.
Hey, I'll take 60 FPS whenever I can get it, man. I mean, to me, sometimes, like you said, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. If they couldn't get it all the way to 60, I'll take a rock solid 30 FPS all day that doesn't dip or anything. But to see how far the game has come, especially like all the pitfalls of the Switch hardware and all the limitations they had to go through, and seeing like a crowd of school people while you're at the school run at 15 FPS behind you while you're running at 30 FPS, it's a great thing to see. We're finally going to get a good, proper running version of SMT5. Not to say that the Switch port is bad or anything. It'll just be a good change of pace. So, all in all, what are your final thoughts on SMT5 Vengeance? Anything else? Anything extra that you want to see? Or it's coming out in 4 months, man. So there's not a lot that they can reveal in 4 months. But is there anything else that you want to see? Any final thoughts?
Yeah. So I'm really impressed that they revealed it and then it's coming out so early. I think that's really awesome. And on the other hand, I am curious on if it will get another sort of premium edition. I don't think it will, but I would love to see another like Fall of Man premium edition type thing for this version. I'm not sure if it's gonna happen, but I mean it's just gonna be really cool. I'm getting it on PS5. I definitely want to play 4K 60. Obviously, I'm really hyped. I loved it on this Nintendo Switch version, but just the fact that I get to play more SMT5. I mean, look, this is seriously, it was my game of the year of 2021. I love that game so much. So I'm just so happy that I get to dive back into it. This is such a massive year for RPGs. Like, what?
Massive for RPGs and Atlas. Think about this. Persona 3 Reload, SMT5 Vengeance. We got Project ReFantazio, Metaphor ReFantazio coming up. It's a big year, man. And
3 huge games.
And of course, this game is releasing on the same day as the Elden Ring. Is it DLC? I believe it is, like an expansion pass or something.
Yeah, it's like
that.
an expansion, something like that.
So Atlas has got some competition on that day.
Yeah.
But at least they're not both turn-based RPGs or anything. So I think this is going to do extremely well. SMT5 sold over 1 million units on the Switch alone, and I think they're going to well surpass 1 million units of just Vengeance alone, even just with the multi-platform release. That's going to really help them all in the long run. So SMT5 Vengeance looking great. It's releasing on June 21st, 2024. I'm very excited. Riku, thank you so much for coming on the video and talking some SMT5 Vengeance with me today.
Thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure to be a part of things.
Make sure you follow Katana Riku on all social media, his Twitter, subscribe to his YouTube channel. He's a great guy. Always a pleasure to have him on the channel. And we will see you guys in the next video. King out.